Hey folks, Dave Isaacs here with you, and I want to talk to you today about improvisation. It can be a little bit of an intimidating word, an intimidating topic. Not everyone is comfortable not knowing what's going to happen next. You don't want to fall on your face, you don't want to embarrass yourself, but the thing is this, you do, to be able to be a good improviser, need to be willing to stick your neck out and take chances. And the thing I'm going to suggest to you, and as we explore this, I think you'll find this out for yourself, that when you come to enjoy the process of exploration, the bad steps don't really matter. And of course, there are ways, and we'll get into this, that you can make a bad note into a good note, a bad sound into a good sound, or let's say an effective sound. The thing that ends up being the problem is basically option anxiety. You have 1,000 things you could do. How do you choose the right one? Well, you start off by limiting yourself to the things we know. For example, we're going to play over a track in E minor. So that means right now we're thinking about the key of E minor. And to narrow that down, let's say we're talking about an E minor pentatonic scale. And to narrow that down even further, let's say that we're not even going to use an entire scale. We're going to use maybe 3 notes. And just mix them up different ways. Just choose one, choose another, choose that one, see what it sounds like. We could trim it down a step further than that and just play a rhythm on one note. And so that's what I'm going to do first. This is the primary backing track, the rhythm bed, from Unit 4 of the Session Player Toolkit. So I am playing just an E note. That's all I'm looking for. Here's our tempo. And all I'm going to do at first is just make sure I know where the beat is. There was a chord change. So I'm just settling into the pocket. By the way, every one of those notes sounded good against the chord. But now let's add a rhythm. It up. Back. Where am I getting it from? I'm listening to the song. And even if I do this, that is a musical effect. Okay, so maybe there was a touch of silliness in that last bit, but it still sounds musical. It's still an effect that works. Some of you may find it helpful to vocalize when you do something like that. Ba, 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 ba. It doesn't matter if you're singing on pitch, just talking the rhythm you play. Ba, 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 ba. And if it's helpful for you to find words that have rhythmic figures, strawberry jam. Where did that come from? I have no idea. Strawberry jam. I'm not even hungry, I promise. I don't know where that came from. This is establishing the pulse, your sense of it internally, because you have to feel the beat to be able to play to it, and then also getting the key center into your ear. I'm now just going to take 4 notes of an E minor pentatonic scale. Let's call this a cell. I'm here on the D and G strings. I'm using the 7th fret of the D, 9th fret of the D, 7th fret of the G, 9th fret of the G. Those 4 notes are my only choices. We know they all belong to the E minor pentatonic scale. Let's see how that works against our track. So far, so good. Just made a different choice. Now if I just go up and down, there's a way to make that fit, but it's going to get boring real quick, so we leave space. Go down. This time keep going up. Now start with one of the middle notes. repeating rhythm. Bop, 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 bop. Leave a little more space. Now, even if you're not thinking about anything other than, do I go up or do I go down? Do I choose this note or do I choose that note? We've limited our options. We know that everything's going to work, and so all you have to think about is phrasing. In other words, you play a few notes, you choose when to pause and wait until you play the next few notes. And ideally, you're not just running, that's not doing you any good. Like that guy. Another exercise we can try is to limit ourselves to one string. Let's find an E minor pentatonic on the E string. Open, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret. 6 notes. So against our track, chord changed back. Using the same rhythm figure, jump down. Could be that simple. Or nothing wrong with that either. I appreciate that some of you may be saying, look, the problem I have is I just don't know how to do what you just did, how to pull something out of the air there. But I'll remind you that all I'm doing is listening to and feeling the beat and then choosing when to make a sound. And if you're doing it blindly, that's okay. Do it blindly. You may be reacting in ways that you're not necessarily conscious of. And really, this is the thing we're trying to do. You're trying to connect to something unconscious. You're trying to connect to something subliminal, because as you make these choices, those choices are informed by, influenced by all the music you've ever heard in your life. How much of that has actually soaked in and been processed, you really don't know, probably more than you think, because that forms your sense of what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. So you are, as you explore these sounds, I'm sure that at first, the physical aspect of just knowing where to go can dominate easily. But as you get into just hearing, okay, these 2 notes together make a sound, hey, that kind of reminds me of this other thing. This is all ultimately building vocabulary. So how does this work with a scale? Let's say I take an E minor scale. So I'm starting on E, 7th fret of the A string, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 1. Sorry, 5. So how do we make music out of this? Well, we're going to extract cells, short musical ideas, 3 notes, 4 notes, from that scale, just by either climbing the scale or descending the scale or skipping notes of the scale. That's all that's going to happen. You can stay in the same place, you can go up or you can go down, and you can go up by this much or that much, smaller increments, larger increments. This is what makes a melody sound like a melody. You just think in terms of the ups and downs. And then the other element is time. So if I just play running notes, note, 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 it's hard to articulate any real phrasing. But when I leave space, you hear the grammar, you hear punctuation, you hear commas and periods, you hear sentences. I'll show you what I mean. First, I'll just play the scale. But even just choosing to pause there, then pause there instead. Maybe go up 3 notes, and then pause. Now keep going. How about nice dissonance, just 3 notes that time. Climb the scale. extracting musical phrases from the scale by just playing pieces of it. Once you have absorbed a vocabulary of patterns into your fingers, you should be able to direct your hand that way. And even if it feels absurdly mechanical, here's my scale. Okay, I'm gonna go up, now I'm gonna go up again, now I'm gonna go down. If that's what it takes for you to become flexible enough to choose how you articulate the scale. I'm gonna go up this far and pause. I'm gonna go down 1 note. I'm going to go up 3 notes. I'm going to go down 4 notes. If you need to practice that specifically to be able to control the patterns that way, do. Because if you've programmed your hand to just run the entire pattern, then that's what you will end up doing. It's difficult to phrase when you never stop. And for those of you who are saying, hey, but what about so-and-so that plays all these notes? Even someone that threw out lots and lots of notes, an Eddie Van Halen, a Stevie Ray Vaughan, you can break down those long lines with lots of notes into cells, small musical ideas put together one after another, just done very quickly. You could say the same thing about John Coltrane. You could say that about a lot of things. For our purposes, learning how to improvise, being real clear about your phrasing is a really good way to go. And as I said, if it helps to verbalize something, if you find that words or nonsense syllables or bop-bop-bop-bop-bom, or you imagine George Benson scatting, or whatever it is, use your voice if you feel that that helps give you something to hang on. Because you don't actually have to think about using your voice, you can just do it. And I'll have to come back to what I said at the very beginning, which is it's intimidating when you don't know what's going to happen next. But you can cultivate the fearlessness, you can cultivate the enjoyment of that exploration because, yeah, sometimes you do fall on your face, but when you get it and you play something you never would have thought of if you tried to plan it out in advance, it's really very, very satisfying. The last example I want to give you is, I'm going to call this free improv, but basically I'm mixing up everything we did. So we have permission to stay on 1 note and be rhythmic. We have permission to play little cells. Staying in one little area. We have permission to move up and down scales. Or up and down a string. So I am still going to limit myself to the territories we've mapped out. So that means this box, 7 and 9 on the D and G strings, this scale form. Oh, well, let's do it here so it includes the box. From 7, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9. We'll put that 9th in there, that 7th fret. And then from there, we might choose to slide up and down the pentatonic on a given string. Let's say you've done the work to map that out and you know where it is. So here's an example. So first, scale. Box. Box again. Scale. Scale. Scale again. Make a little cell out of that. Repeating. On a string. And the scale. And eventually you just add more notes. Blue note. Nice little cell right here. Go on down the scale. Repeat rhythmically. Scale. So I hope that this illustration starts to show you that this stuff isn't really coming out of thin air. We're choosing the notes based on the key we're in, based on the location on the fretboard we're in, and we're making rhythmic choices based on the music we're playing to. So none of this is coming out of nowhere. And then the other piece of it is every E minor pentatonic lick I ever learned is somehow in the back of my mind while I'm doing that. So this went very quickly through a lot of information, but I hope those little exercises can be useful and fun. I think they're fun. And if you have similarly fearless musical friends, I will say it is a lot of fun to get together with other players and say, you know, we're going to go ahead and do this badly, but we're going to see what happens. And giving yourself permission to fall on your face is probably the first thing that needs to happen. And then once you have a couple of times, then okay, great. You know, I mean, there are quite a few bands I could name that have had world-class train wrecks, and I, as a fan, don't mind. Not what I mean to say, but you understand. The fear of failure will stop you from trying. But if falling on your face is just part of the act and you get back up and you keep on going, it's a process that you continue to go through, exploring this, exploring that, and then you can be as intentional or as open as you want in what you do and how you make those choices. But you will probably, at this stage, as you are exploring, as you're getting comfortable, as you are mapping out paths that let you feel confident, that give you options to choose from, that lets you feel like you are coloring inside the lines for now, choosing from among those limited options. That is the way to learn to make those choices in real time. And that ultimately is what's going to make you an improviser. And I think really get to enjoy it, love it, really, the way that I do.